Hi, everybody. It's Tara back with Dr. Rana, who is a marriage and family therapist. He is an excellent resource in our emotionally focused therapist community. He's a trainer, supervisor, and therapist. So Brian and I are talking about guys and communication. And Brian was just saying, maybe it's useful too to just sort of change it up and like as we notice things, like how do we notice the opposite angle of what we're talking about with communication?
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of men hear that to be a good a good husband, you need to be a good listener, which is a nice thought. But I think oftentimes what I see really working is on the other side. So what I would think about is this, guys. Think about in your growing up years. Maybe you were in high school, college, or early in your work years. Most of us went through at least one event that was really hard. Maybe you lost a job. Maybe you got turned down for something you were hoping for, a bad breakup. I had a bad breakup one year in college. Who'd you call? Who were the top couple of people that when you realized, man, life is hurting, who'd you go to? And more importantly, what does that say about that relationship? Some really important stuff, I bet. If you called your mom, if you called your dad, if you called a close friend, or maybe a teacher, that is the ultimate compliment you can give another human, to invite them into a time in life when you don't have it together. Culture tells us, especially as men, a lot of times that if you're not self-sustaining, if you can't handle it all yourself, somehow that's weakness, which is absolutely bogus. We know from neuroscience that us as humans are meant to live in a herd. Us as mammals, like any other mammal, we're meant to herd. So when you reach out to someone when you're hurting, it is the ultimate compliment, and it has a very powerful bonding effect. So I think it's important for us as men to remember it's a great thing when life hurts to let your partner in, to let them, to go to them and say, hey, this sucks. It doesn't always have to be a perfectly eloquent emotional expression, but just to go to your partner and say, hey, I don't have this one. Right now, I question myself. To have the guts and the authenticity, the courage to admit what's true of all of us. All of us don't have it at certain times, but to invite your partner into that space with you, it does so much for your marriage. That to me, that may be one of the least taught and understood aspects when I talk to men about marriage.
Yeah, I agree with that, Ryan. And I reflect on my own marriage and my husband and those times when he says like this sucks, or even sometimes when he says you suck to me.
Yeah.
That vulnerableness, although it's uncomfortable, especially if he's upset with me, it works. Like there's this sinking in that the lens can see that vulnerability, that I can see you're struggling. And the more as a wife I can see my husband struggling, it allows me to make peace with the fact that I struggle. So there's this, again, men, there's so much pressure to be a leader, but there's this thing, it's like that leading by example. It's like attachment says, or meet me in my unmeetable place.
Yeah.
And when we can see this person that we love and admire struggling, it makes my struggle more acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of interspecies marrying going on. Most of us want to be married to another human, and to be human means that you have needs and you don't have it all figured out. And so, who wants to be married to someone that doesn't struggle? I don't. One of the saddest things in the world for me, and I've worked hundreds and maybe 1,000 hours, is your stereotypical 57-year-old man whose wife has left him and it's over. He's lost his marriage and he's devastated. And when you backtrack through what happened, he never let her know that he was struggling, because he literally thought what's valuable is for me to fix it myself and be strong. And I'm like, you missed all these golden opportunities to invite her in, her or whomever, invite them into your struggle, because that's how you bond. Doing it better and just overcoming a struggle is a neat thought, but honestly, no one remembers it a month later.
Right.
But if you get invited into a deep place to someone who says, "Hey, today I hurt," you bond for life.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's this opportunity men have to just embrace and acknowledge the fact that sometimes we don't have it and it hurts, and give your partner the ultimate compliment, which is, I'm going to let you see my struggle and invite you in for comfort. And that's what creates a bond.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great, Ryan. This is lovely. And so it's just this real sacred space of like, I guess, allowing ourselves to be held. You know, we long to be comforted and soothed in our time of need, but also to have the experience of like holding somebody in their need. So when we go to our person with their struggle, we're really saying, will you hold me? Will you hold space for me? And that is a beautiful gift to them, but it's also just this thing of like learning how to tolerate being held.